think we're good to go. Thank you so much, Simon and Majid. And welcome everyone to Fluttercon Berlin. I'm so excited to be here today. And Simon, your story just goes to show that we really do take all community feedback seriously. It will eventually get implemented. When I was asked if I wanted to give the keynote speech here at Fluttercon, I thought to myself, yes, this is a great opportunity to talk to the audience all about democracy. The word democracy comes from the Greek words, sorry, hold on, the event producer's telling me something. I'm not supposed to talk about whatever I want? It's supposed to be about Flutter? Well, this is awkward. Okay, I think I can make this work. With a few minor adjustments, I'll make today's speech about Flutter. Democracy and Flutter. Seriously though, today I'll talk about where Flutter is at currently and some of the investments we're going making forward. But first, I really want to reflect on why it is that we're all here today and the profound mission that Flutter is on. So as I was saying, the word democracy comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. So democracy can be thought of as power of the people, which fits in surprisingly well with this speech about Flutter. And that's because Flutter gives power to the people. And in so doing, it democratizes app development. First, let's clarify which people I'm talking about, and then I'll talk about what power it gives them. The first constituency is application creators. I'm being intentionally broad here because this isn't just software developers. It's everyone involved in app creation. It includes people who have an idea for an app, but aren't sure how at first to bring it to fruition. It includes product owners, UI and UX designers, product managers and program managers, business analysts, product testers and QA, and yes, software engineers. So if you want to democratize app development, the first constituency you need to empower is app creators. But applications are meant to be used by real people once they're created. And so the other big constituency we need to empower are end users. The users will be the final arbiter of success here. So when I say that Flutter democratizes app development by giving power to the people, it's essential that that group of people includes end users. Any framework that wants to succeed here need not only empower developers, but also make the user's experience actually better. Okay, so we're talking about application creators and their users. To see how Flutter gives power to these constituencies, let's have a look at Flutter's 5 pillars. And I kid you not, as I typed up this speech, Google tried to auto-complete the sentence to say, Flutter's 5 pillars of democracy. Yeah, I can neither confirm nor deny rumors that this speech was written entirely by ChatGPT. Now, these 5 pillars aren't new. They've existed since before our first release and are key characteristics of Flutter that we think represent core needs of any UI framework. We've covered these at past events, but we usually run through them pretty quickly, and I think it's worth reflecting on how profound they actually are because of the power that they deliver to application creators and their users. The first pillar is fast, compiling your app to machine code rather than running in an interpreted environment. Next, we have productive, with technologies like stateful hot reload that let you see changes as you're working. Next, there's beautiful, having complete control over every pixel on the screen. Then we have open, we're free and open source, giving developers the ability to step into any code and see what the code is actually doing. And finally, portable, running the same on every one of our 6 platforms so that you, the app creators, can develop with flexibility. Going into a bit more depth on each one, let's talk about being fast. Since the project's inception, being fast has been at the heart of everything we do. In fact, the entire Flutter project was born out of the fact that the founding members decided it was impossible to make the web run fast on mobile. So ensuring that we can run at 60 frames a second or higher is foundational to the project and always top of mind. Our new rendering pipeline Impeller is proof of just how much we care about being fast. Turned on by default in iOS now, it completely eliminates even the possibility of shader compilation jank, so as to avoid an entire category of UI jank. And who cares about running fast? Well, designers want to see their vision come to life in buttery smooth animations. End users want scrolling and animations and really everything to feel natural and responsive. And app creators in general want their users to be happy. So basically, this is a power everyone cares about. On productivity, as amazing as stateful hot reload is, and believe me, I still find it amazing when I use it, the productivity gains that the teams see when they use Flutter is about much more than hot reload. It's about a commitment to good documentation, with API docs imbued with sample code, videos, images, and interactive code that you can run right in your browser thanks to Dartpad. It's about the fact that teams deploying to multiple platforms no longer need disparate lists of bugs and feature requests per platform or separate release timelines. It's about being able to run in interpreted mode during development, but still being able to do AOT compilation with whole program optimization during release. Due to all these things, teams have consistently reported about a 3x productivity improvement when using Flutter, which is quite powerful. On beauty, Joseph Addison said, "There is nothing that makes its way more directly into the soul than beauty." Or how about Maya Angelou? People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Who doesn't want beautiful apps? The pillar of being beautiful grants the power to truly move someone. Designers want to see their creations come to life exactly as designed, down to the pixel. Developers never want to have to say no to their designers, and users want to be delighted and moved by the designs of the apps they use. This pillar manifests itself in Flutter by virtue of developers being able to have beautiful apps right out of the box, by virtue of using the Material or Cupertino libraries, or because of Flutter's layered architecture. Developers can cut in at any layer of the stack they choose and bring their own design language or bring their own app designs. And this is all made possible because at the lowest layer of that stack, Flutter talks directly to the GPU, so we're never limited by higher-level abstractions. Being open is about far more than developers being able to step into code or being able to use the software for free. It's an attitude that the community truly makes us more than the sum of our parts. And the community in Flutter truly is amazing. Just look around this room. It's about having a significant portion of the code contributed by open source developers not hired to work on the Flutter framework as part of their day job. And it's about those contributions not only being simple cursory fixes, but affecting foundational design decisions and architecture as well. It's about a culture of writing up design proposals and having design discussions in the open and making decisions based on the merits of those discussions, not simply based on someone's employer. And this is so important for developers because it radically improves the overall quality of the framework they're using and thus the quality of the apps that they build. On several occasions, we've had open source contributors say, "I think this could be done better." And we've shifted our direction due to that feedback. Or developers have published packages in our package ecosystem that have become recommended packages that we feature in our docs or on our Flutter YouTube channel. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here and try a little test. For all the people in the audience, if you have either sent a pull request for review in a Flutter repository, authored a package and published it to pub, filed an issue against Flutter that has since been fixed, participated in a design discussion, either in issue comments or in a doc, or hosted or attended a Flutter meetup, not including this one because that's cheating, please stand up. Wow! Everyone, give yourself a round of applause. That is crazy. For those of you watching the video later on, I estimate about 3/4 of the room just stood up, and there's, say, 700 people here today. That is fantastic. And finally, portable. Quite simply, none of the other pillars matter all that much without being able to rely on portability. Without this, app creators and users can't trust that an app will run correctly on their new platform. Without this, every new platform they support brings added complexity, cost, and productivity loss at a superlinear rate. And so what happens is that without this, developers end up choosing the platforms they want to target first, rather than just the functionality they want to deliver. And by choosing their platforms up front, they end up cutting off a segment of potential user base right out of the gate. With this, on the other hand, you not only get the flip side benefit of everything I just mentioned, but if you do it right, and I dare say Flutter did, you actually enable platform creators to add support for new platforms and app creators immediately gain access to those new platforms. We've seen this with Samsung and Tizen, with Sony and with Toyota, all of whom have created custom embedders for Flutter. So there you have it. By giving these incredible powers to app creators and users of all platforms, Flutter democratizes app development. I think it's a profound statement, and it's why Flutter resonates with the users and with our community. And this fact is resonating with users and creators alike. Since our 1.0 release now, over 6 million developers have used Flutter. And over 1.1 million Flutter apps have launched to the stores, from small apps from entrepreneurs to apps with over 1 billion downloads. And as Tim Sneath covered in our Flutter Forward event earlier this year, GitHub's Octaverse, published late last year, showed Flutter to be among the top 3 open source projects by number of contributors. And this last number astounds me, since it means that only about 1% of Flutter's contributors to the Flutter codebase have been employed by Google over the years. 99% of them are from open source contributors. Just fantastic. You know, sometimes these discussions can get a little abstract, so I always enjoy connecting the work back to real customers. Earlier this year, we shared great success stories from Google Classroom and PUBG Mobile, both of whom have shipped code to production using Flutter. Today, given the message about Flutter democratizing app development, I'd also like to share a timely success story from Global Citizen, a nonprofit movement that inspires and empowers millions of people around the world to learn and take action in support of ending global poverty.
Since we started Global Citizen, we've seen a generation of people stand up and say, the world's biggest challenges aren't too much for me and I can be part of the solution. The voices of people are what's necessary to make sure that no child goes to bed hungry, that every kid gets a chance to go to school. For us, investing in mobile's essential because we've got to meet people where they are every day, and that's on their cell phones. The app's all about taking people on a journey from inspiration through education to action. Tangible and practical things they can do. We transitioned to Flutter because as a non-profit, time and money is scarce. The big advantage of a single code base means we only have to develop things once, one round of UX design, one round of QA testing, and it means we can feed the same features at the same time in multiple languages across multiple countries and meet standards for everyone, everywhere.
Plastic pollution warrior.
We've seen our audience take more than 33 million actions, unlocking more than $40 billion that's improved the lives of more than 1 billion people.
What's driving this growth of platform and these customer successes like that of Global Citizen or Google Classroom or PUBG Mobile is the continued improvements we're making to Flutter. So I'd like to shift now and quickly run through some of those improvements we've landed so far in 23, and then we'll turn our eye towards our investments we're still making and will be landing in the future. Now, keep in mind, I'm just going to be covering a quick sample of our highlights so far this year. This isn't by any stretch of the imagination a comprehensive list. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for 20 minutes while I just read a long list of new features. Rather, this is just to give you a sense of how incredibly rapidly the platform continues to evolve and improve. So we've landed a ton of improvements to our material design library this year, including a broad set of improvements to our Material 3 implementation. This includes updated look and feel for over 30 widgets, including date picker, time picker, bottom sheet, and list tile. One of the things we frequently hear from customers is they'd like widgets to automatically adapt to the size of the screen so that apps don't have to implement different widget trees for mobile versus web versus tablet, desktop. We have it. We call this adaptive layout, and we've landed some of this work so far this year and continue to invest here. We've also landed menu bars, cascading menus with the ability to hook into the system menu bar for macOS, and the ability to use material menus on all platforms. And coming up with a material color scheme is often a task beyond the skill of most people. I know it is for me. I'm a horrible designer. So we now have the ability to programmatically derive a color scheme given a source image. And we now have widgets that provide predictive text for search queries and the ability to add a second tier of tabbed content. Impeller is now turned on by default on iOS, completely eliminating, yes. Completely eliminating the entire category of jank caused by runtime shader compilation, which was far and away our largest source of jank on iOS. We've made a number of other improvements to iOS as well, such as wireless debugging, wide gamut image support, spell checking support, several new Cupertino widgets, and new cross-platform design guidelines. And we made a ton of improvements to Dart language in Dart 3.0, completing our journey towards sound null safety and launching excellent features like support for patterns and records, sealed classes, and more. Last but not least, we've made several improvements to web, including element embedding, fragment shader support as Simon requested. We've dramatically improved the download size and load times for Flutter web apps. And honestly, I could go on for like 10 more minutes easily just talking about all the cool stuff we've launched just so far this year, because there's a lot that I haven't covered here. But there's so much more comprehensive accounting of all the great stuff we've launched in our release blogs for Flutter 3.7 and 3.10. So if you haven't checked them out, I recommend doing so. Let's turn our attention instead to what investments we're currently making. A standard disclaimer for anything not yet released is that our focus is always on doing it right and not rushing the engineering work. So any of this upcoming work is merely in a preview state. Broadly speaking, our investments fall into these 4 categories: continuing to push the boundaries of breakthrough graphics performance, improving our integration on web and mobile platforms to the point where we have seamless integration with the underlying platform, investing in emerging technologies to ensure we stay on the cutting edge of technology, and continuing our ongoing deep commitment to developer experience. Regarding breakthrough graphics performance, we purposely focused on Impeller on iOS first because iOS Flutter apps suffered from shader compilation much more than Android Flutter apps. But we're not done yet. This year, we'll be continuing to work on delivering Impeller for Android, both on phones that use OpenGL and Vulkan. On seamless integration for web and mobile, we've already launched JNIGen and FFIGen, and we're looking into ways we can further improve both the performance and developer experience of integrating between Dart and platform-native languages. We continue to invest a good bit in WebAssembly, or WASM. Where that will land first is the ability to compile Flutter to WASM instead of JavaScript when deploying to the web. And as the RISC-V standard continues to solidify and gain adoption, Dart and Flutter are ready to support that architecture as well, in keeping with the pillar of being portable. And finally, we are always focused on developer experience. It permeates everything we do, down to the ergonomics of the APIs we create. As Ian Hickson once said, developer experience is what makes people love Flutter, not have to use Flutter. But too many words can be boring. So I figured I'd give a few sneak peek demos at some of these investments we're making that are still in development and haven't landed yet. The first of these previews is of desktop platform views, in this case, Mac OS. Whenever developers want to embed native UI controls in a Flutter app, they're using platform views. And on desktop, support for platform views is one of our highest upvoted feature requests. Now, before I get to the demo, I want to highlight this case is a great example of community collaboration and the benefit of that pillar of being open that I talked about. Community collaborator Matt Knopp played a huge role in this work, convincing us that we should take a different approach to threading on macOS than we had done with iOS. His suggestions yielded a huge improvement over what we did on iOS and how we were planning to handle it on macOS. And so it's great evidence that people outside of Google can fundamentally change significant architectural decisions. And then on top of that, Matt was instrumental in the compositor rewrite as well, contributing about 50% of the code. So what we're looking at here is a native Apple Maps MK map view embedded in a Flutter desktop app as a platform view, then sandwiched along the z-axis, composited between 2 spinning Flutter widgets. And you'll notice the platform view is animating through a scale transform while getting clipped with an animated increase in corner radius, while undergoing an opacity fade from 1 to 0.75, all while the contents of the map zoom around Kyoto Imperial Palace. and it's all rendered at 60 frames a second without dropping a single frame. Needless to say, desktop platform views are very much under active development. Mac OS will land first, but we'll add support for Windows as well. Next up, a big investment we're making is in better counting. Yes, you heard me right, that's better counting. So last year, we launched our desktop support to the stable channel, but we forgot to update one thing, and that's the counter app. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the counter app. When you run Flutter Create, it's the app that you get. It's a really neat little tool, allows you to keep track of all kinds of counts. The app looks really great when you launch it on a mobile device with a small screen and energy-efficient CPU. When you're out on the go, you can really focus on that one count you want to keep track of. But if you launch this app on the desktop, which you can now do with Flutter, it looks kind of lost. You know, you have this giant screen with all this extra real estate here, but you know, the counter app isn't really utilizing that very well. Also, your desktop CPU is probably way more powerful than your little mobile phone, so you should be able to keep track of more than one count at once. Like, what if you wanted to count all the Flutter developers you met today while also keeping track of all the bratwurst you've eaten since you've been here in Berlin? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just bring up a second counter for all your counting needs so that you can independently keep track of those counts? Well, with multi-window support in Flutter, you can do exactly that. So you can spawn a new window, and of course, you don't have to be satisfied with just 2 windows. You know, you can open up a third window here, for instance, to keep track of how many cool demos you saw today. So yeah, the counter app is a really useful tool across all kinds of domains, but enough about the counter app. Let's talk a little bit about multi-window support on display here. That's probably the more interesting part of this demo. All the windows you see on the screen here are powered by the same Flutter app instance, and in fact, all the widgets that were drawn on the screen here are part of a single unified widget tree. So if you want to expand your app to another window, all you have to do is introduce a window widget to your app. After all, most everything in Flutter is a widget, right? And also, the single unified widget tree has some other advantages. All the concepts that developers know and love with Flutter will just seamlessly continue to work across windows. For example, you can place an inherited widget at the root of your widget tree, and then data exposed by it is accessible to all the descendant windows. For example, you could put a color scheme that has an inherited widget, and then when you change your color scheme, by pressing the button here in one window, it automatically updates in all the other windows. Or likewise, you could place your data model at the root of the widget tree and share your data model across windows as well. When we bring up the terminal, we can dump the widget tree to the console and see this is actually a unified widget tree. And throughout this widget tree, you'll see these view widgets. A view widget basically defines the contents for a single window. So we'll find multiple view widgets in this tree. There's one here, there's another one a little further up. And there are more for windows that we created in this demo. Now, this widget tree is what developers intuitively create when they code their Flutter app. The framework then translates this widget tree into a render object tree. And this is where multi-window Flutter is going to be a little bit different than your classic single-window Flutter. In the single-window world, we translate the single widget tree into a single render tree, whereas in multi-window world, you still have that single widget tree, but we're going to translate it to multiple render trees. There's going to be one for each window that we need to power with content. So here you see we've also dumped out our render trees, so there's one render tree describing one window. You can see a render view object at the root of that tree, and then there's another render tree, and so on and so forth for each window. I reiterate that right now this is a prototype. Work is well underway on this project, but it's not quite ready for production yet. And it requires quite a large amount of refactoring. It turns out there were many places in Flutter where we had baked in the assumption that there was only one single root view. And changing that in ways that doesn't break all existing apps has proved to be quite a fun challenge. But once we do this, I'm very excited to see what Flutter developers can build once they get their hand on this. And yeah, maybe in hindsight, this demo wasn't in fact showing off the investment we're making in better counting. Before I get to the next demo, I feel like I need to come clean and confess something. When I talked about how Flutter is democratizing app development by bringing it to all platforms, I must admit I left one platform out. Yes, it's true. There's a portion of the population that Flutter has been underserving, and that is people that prefer to live within the terminal as much as possible. They live and breathe command line apps, but unfortunately, sometimes the command line interface simply isn't as expressive as a graphical user interface. It really is a shame that these people can't enjoy the richness that a GUI offers while also staying within the terminal for all their apps. No more. It's time we right this wrong. This is a demo from one of the Flutter team members who used Rust to write a custom Flutter embedder that uses ANSI escape codes to render Flutter apps within a terminal UI. Here you can see it running our trusty counter app. The text looks weird because it's treating it just like any other graphics and creating the mosaic. So this is all fine and good, but what about something more graphically intensive like the Wondrous app? Looks pretty good. You can navigate around the app just like any other platform, exploring various wonders of the world. Not bad for a terminal-based UI. I don't know about you, but I, for one, can rest easy knowing that terminal users can now enjoy the power of Flutter too. Now, to be clear, this demo does not represent something we're actively working on. This is just a fun demo. But I showed it here today to highlight how incredibly powerful Flutter's layered architecture is, and the ability to hook in at any layer of that, in this case, building a custom renderer through Flutter's Embedder API. It's exactly this layered architecture that enables us to render Flutter on the web, originally via HTML DOM renderer, and then more recently with the Canvas renderer. And it's what's enabled the likes of Samsung, Sony, and Toyota to easily adapt Flutter to their platforms. So silly as this demo is, it really underscores the power of Flutter to easily bring app development to new platforms, continuing our journey of democratizing app development. And that serves as a good segue to this closing note. And with this, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but I've been working in this space for about 30 years. And that entire time, and even before my time, the software industry has been trying to solve this problem. And I believe that Flutter is closer to solving this problem than any other attempt in history. And the solid ground that we gain by keeping on making headway. So when I say that Flutter democratizes app development, it's not some pithy statement that I'm casually throwing around. I sincerely mean it, and it's something that it's something so profound that it gives my work a deep sense of meaning. I've been working on Flutter for 8 years now, and it's this sense of meaning that has kept me and continues to keep me enthusiastically engaged in Flutter's mission. So to the people in this room and the people watching the video later, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for going on this journey with us. To the people who stood up earlier, thank you for all your contributions. To the people who have built or are building Flutter apps, thank you for battle testing the platform and for making users' lives better. And to the people who are still considering Flutter and maintain a healthy skepticism, thank you for pushing us to be better and asking all the hard questions. So enjoy the rest of Fluttercon, everyone. Bye for now for my presentation, but I'm actually going to be taking Q&A. There's a microphone up front here where people can come up to ask questions. But that's the end of my presentation.